Hi Flynn, I'll try to walk you through what's been happening to us and I'll try to be as clear as I can. So let me just start from the beginning. When we create an event in Wix, we create RSVP events, not ticketed events. And I'll just call this I'm going to add the word webinar to remind myself that I think what we're talking about is problem with webinars. We don't seem to have the same problem with just regular old Zoom meetings. And let me change this date to someplace out, pretty far out in time, so that my membership doesn't get confused. Wait a minute, I meant to go to May and try to register for this test event. Okay, so we're setting it up for 7 p.m. I've chosen Central Time, and I'm just going to say display the time zone. It's online. It's going to be a Zoom webinar. And we can just create it from this point. We don't have to fill in all the other details. And then go back now that we've saved and turn on video conferencing, or I should say set up video conferencing. I'll choose Zoom and say continue and then save. So we can see that we've got a join link for our guests. On registration, we want this to be on our Wix registration page. We've got the webinar in Zoom that's limited to 100 guests, so we'll have to change that. And then everything else, we pretty much accept the defaults for the emails and of course the thank you message, registration closed message doesn't really apply to us. Emails, we don't get more than 100 people. So now we've got the default emails, confirmation, reminder, cancellation, but nobody signed up for the guest list. So we're all set to go. Let's go look at it in Zoom. So here's our Zoom account. And even though I want this to be a webinar, it will come into Zoom from Wix as a meeting. Here it is, the testing 1, 2, 3 webinar. So the first thing that I have to do is change it to a webinar, but I also have to remember to change the time. It always comes in as universal time for some reason, even though I indicated Central Time when I set it up. So that, of course, has changed the date from the 27th to the 28th, so I have to remember to correct that or I'll already be in trouble. I'm pretty good at getting in trouble. So I wanted it to be at 7 p.m. and of course we really only need 2 hours, and change this from the universal time back up to Central Time for US and Canada. Now we don't have to worry about too much else because we're going to convert this to a webinar, but we have to save it. So I try to change the time right away so I don't forget. Save it, and then I can come down to the bottom and I can convert this meeting to a webinar. And the reason we want to do that is we have guest speakers that have a speaking role, and then our audience has their video and audio muted, and it seems to work out better like that. So now we're in my webinars, and here's our testing 1, 2, 3 webinar. We've changed the time, so that's all good. We probably want to edit a few more things real quick though. I'm trying to do this as I've always done it. I say registration required because you do have to register in Wix and get a URL, a Wix to Zoom URL. This is the way I've always done it since last September 2020, and it's worked, but maybe that's an issue. We enable the practice session so we can meet for a few minutes with our speakers before we go live. We record the seminar always, and we don't approve or block users. Plus, I forgot to mention up here that we do not require ever a webinar passcode. It's just one more set of numbers for the audience to juggle, and we want to make it as easy as possible for them to get in. So I'll save it, and now we're good to go. They confirmed that the changes were a success. So the next thing we need to do is to have somebody register for the webinar so we can test it out. So let me go to the web page now, the website now, where events ought to be updated, and I can have a dummy account register for it. Oops. So in the dummy account, here's the registration email where she's going to be able to get the join link, and I'll go ahead and start the webinar like I usually do. So let me step back over to Zoom and start the webinar. At this point, we usually just have panelists, and I won't be able to see my audience at all until I start broadcasting the webinar live. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then I'll be able to see over here in the participants area, panelists and attendees. So let's go ahead and see if we can get Susie in there and have her show up. So let's turn on her Gmail account. There it is. And go ahead and tap Join Zoom Meeting. And this is what happens. We get the error page. So our audience is very confused by this. The first time this happened on Saturday, March 20th, I just waited a few minutes and kept telling the folks to go ahead and try their link again. And so they did, and several people got in. Some people did not. So it seemed to be a problem for almost everybody. People who were like the first one or two people to try it got in just fine. But after that, it took people several minutes to actually get in. So some people kept at it, other people did not and gave up. So let's go ahead and turn that off. I have this on twice, so I'll turn that off. So she's not going to get in. So let's see if she tries again. Now that we've been broadcasting for a few minutes, will she get in? This is what I told them to do on March 20th. So let's see if the second time she uses the link, will it go through? And it doesn't. It doesn't go through the second time either. I'll check to see if I have any emails from Wix telling me that I've lost connectivity, and I usually get this in my personal email box. I don't think I will, because usually it doesn't show up until there's several people tapping the Wix Zoom URL. Then I finally get the email. So I didn't get an email from Wix telling me that we were offline. The second time I did it, the second time we had problems, I should say, was on Wednesday, March 24th. So what I did that time was I had talked to Mario in Wix support on Saturday, March 20th, very late at night, and he told me that I needed to establish connectivity, and he showed me how. So all he told me to do was to go back to event details for this event, and to I should have reestablished connectivity. Okay, so we tried a test case like this, and it said it was connected, and he said, okay, let's try disconnecting it. So I'm going to try to do that now. This is what I tried to do on the 24th. I thought if I disconnected like Mario told me to do, and we need to wait, I think, a few minutes for the disconnect to truly happen. If we disconnect from it, probably have to save to make that happen, then the link should work again once I can reconnect. My problem on Wednesday, March 24th was I could easily disconnect, but it wouldn't let me reconnect. And it might be that I just didn't wait long enough to reconnect, or maybe I forgot to hit save. I have to say I was panicked because I had somebody from the state as a speaker, and I had the mayor of our city as one of our guests who didn't get in, so I was feeling upset. So let's see if we can set it up again now. The webinar is still going on, and it must have disconnected because Zoom is no longer, the radio button's no longer active. So I'll go ahead and say continue, and it seems that it's connected. What happens to me when several people, and it may happen because everybody is trying to tap the links all at the same time, I get the blue connect button to connect again, or I get a blue connect button, and every time I tap it, it just brings up the blue connect button again. It doesn't reconnect all nice and smooth like it did this time. So I'll go ahead and save there. And let's go back and see if that helped Susie Lynch at all. We'll go back to her email and see if she can tap her link and get into the webinar, which is still running, and she still didn't get in. So I don't know if maybe I should, maybe Susie needs to go back to the inbox, and maybe she needs to refresh. I don't know. I'm completely flummoxed at this point. I don't know what to tell people, so that's why I went ahead and disconnected or took off the video conferencing feature, and I just have them using the Wix events page to register directly in Zoom. I'd really like to go back to the way it was, though, because it's really a handy tool, and everybody has appreciated how easy it was. And we've done candidate forums, many candidate forums for local and state offices during the election season in 2020, and we had lots of people registering. They certainly weren't members of our organization. We've used this successfully since September, so it's only been these last two events that we've had, March 20th and March 24th, where it's gone wrong. And then for April, I'm going to have everybody connecting directly in Zoom because I'm afraid to do anything else. If there's a way that you can help us, or if there's something that I'm doing wrong when I set all this up, please let me know, and we'll definitely correct that immediately. But I'm confused as to why the links won't work. Now, here's when I tested this with Mario. Here's another thing that he had me do, which made me feel like everything was going to be okay. He had me copy this guest join link, okay, and try it in a new tab. So I'll do that, and let's see if that works. And that works, but it doesn't work from the emails. So maybe that's another bit of the puzzle that you needed to have. I don't know. I'll just have to be very honest. I'm an older woman. I've never done this kind of stuff before. Zoom was a completely new concept to me. I've done a little tiny bit of stuff with web pages and teaching online. So I'm sure that I only have a very limited amount of knowledge and capabilities. So I hope that I'm explaining things in a way that will help you solve our problem. So thanks so much for listening.